Hey guys, if you missed class on the 16th or 17th for biology or just need a reminder of what's going on, this is a recording of what we did on the 16th and 17th. So, reminders, student information quiz is due on Friday the 18th, and the syllabus quiz is due on Monday the 21st. You're going to want to get those done, especially that syllabus quiz done shortly, because to access the stuff for today, you need to have that done. So today at the beginning of the period, we asked the question, what is the difference between science that is done well and science that is done poorly, or good and bad science? And a lot of the answers that we had talked about good science has evidence, good science is done well, and bad science maybe doesn't have a lot of evidence, and that works pretty well. So I'm going to go through this slideshow really quick. So what is the difference between science done well and science done poorly? A great example of science done poorly is this dude right here. In 1997, Andrew Wakefield, he was a doctor. He published findings that he said that he found that vaccines were causing autism in children. Uh, this shocked the scientific community. The scientists wanted to see the evidence, they wanted to see the data, because if this was actually happening, this would need to be something that would be addressed. Um, and Obviously, I have him up there with the poor science as the heading. There wasn't data. The way that he gathered evidence was pretty bad. It wasn't good. So good science wants to be able to retest stuff. It wants to be able to replicate it and get the same result, and that helps validate it. So this excerpt is from Harvard Medical School. The widespread fear that vaccines increase the risk of autism originated with the 1997 study published by Andrew Wakefield. It got published in a scientific journal, a medical journal called The Lancet, and he suggested that measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine was increasing autism in British children. Uh, this was shocking, uh, but once scientists looked into it, and this is what scientists do, they look at each other's work, and they found that his work was atrocious. It was terrible. It did not hold up to being good science. Lots of errors. He was getting paid money in a way from people that were benefiting from what he said. It was so bad that his medical license was taken away from him and the paper was taken from the journal. The problem was a lot of people attached to this. A lot of regular people thought that this was real. More studies were done, and all major studies showed that there was zero link between the vaccine and autism. Um, so he lost his license. The way that he was collecting data was really weird. In one incident, he went to a birthday party. He took blood samples from children and rewarded them with about $7 for doing that. Very weird. That is not how science works. That doesn't work like that. So, strange dude. So even though I said that scientists looked at it, they found that it was absolute garbage. The problem is that information, the study that got published in the Lancet, Andrew Wakefield's idea got out to the general public, and the general public is really bad at understanding science. They look at Facebook, what your uncle shares on Facebook, or the crazy videos on YouTube. People don't understand science, and so they latched onto this, and people stopped vaccinating their children. And here on the West Coast, we saw a big resurgence of diseases that we should not have to worry about. One of them was whooping cough. Whooping cough is something that should really not be a problem anymore. But we had almost 10,000 cases in Washington in 2010. And since then, we've had cases, a lot more cases of that because people aren't vaccinating their kids. Whooping cough is really bad for little kids. They can cough so much that it becomes hard to breathe and they can die from it. The Centers for Disease Control warning that these events of outbreaks are going to be more frequent because people aren't vaccinating their children. Uh, So good science is something that follows rules. It can be replicated. It can be collected objectively, so you don't have your bias and your opinions in there. It's just data, and it's reviewed by other scientists to see if it actually works. The problem is when bad science gets out there, when science that doesn't follow the rules, that doesn't gather data in a way that makes sense, that bad science still gets out there and people believe it and it gets onto social media and people send it out. So one of the things that we want to do in class is make sure you guys hopefully can understand science enough that when you're faced with something that you see, you can ask the question of, is this real or is this not? And how do I go about trying to find if this is real? All right, so your assignment for today, um, we're going to do our first lab. Well, kind of. I'm going to do the lab. I recorded it, and you're going to watch it and answer some questions on that. So the way that you find that lab in our biology class on our current module, down here at the bottom, you'll see 916, 917, Introduction to Science, the Thunbergs. So I was able to work with a researcher at University of Washington over the last few months. This is what he named his organisms that clean water, called them the Thunbergs. Um, to be able to access this, you must have this syllabus quiz completed and score a 10 on it. So let's open this up. Depending on the period that you're in, click on whatever sign up you need to when you get in there. If you scroll down a little bit, it'll allow you to sign in with your Gmail. So then you don't have to make up a password or anything. It just automatically puts you in there. And when you get to it, it's going to, when you log in, it'll look something like this. It'll have an assignment. You'll click on that assignment. When you start the video, it'll stop at different points down here and pull up a question. You'll answer that question. I'll get it and I'll grade it. So that's your assignment for today. That was the class for today. I'll talk to you later.